All right, what's up, everybody? Hope you're having a good Friday. We're almost to football on Sunday, baby. Super pumped up for it. We got a couple really good games this week, and then the other ones are still pretty exciting. But the ones I'm really looking out for are Bucks, Lions, Bears, Texans, Chiefs, and Bengals. Obviously, Patriots and Seahawks. We're gonna dive into all the games, give you some things to look out for, then hit up with a prediction at the end of who we believe is going to win. So before we get into it, like, subscribe, comment down below what you think is gonna happen, and let's jump right in. Starting with the 1 o'clock games, we have the Saints at the Cowboys. Saints coming off a big win at Carolina, or excuse me, in New Orleans, 47 to 10. They mushroom stamp the Panthers, which I believe any team could. But if you're a Saints fan, you came out of that week pretty excited. What's been going on the past couple years with your team? Very good defense, not very good offense. Well, that offense shows up. Derek Carr throws for 4 touchdowns, dropping dimes all over the field against, some decent players on the Panthers side of the ball. That's exciting. Cowboys, your defense still looks good. Granted, you were going up against Deshaun Watson, arguably worse than Bryce Young. The offense was your strong suit during the regular season last year. Can Dak pick up where he left off? He only had 180 yards passing in week one, and typically offenses take a week or two to kickstart. So I'd like to see Dallas at home air the ball out a little bit more. Dak gets that huge contract. CD gets a huge contract. I want to see these guys light it up. I got the Dallas Cowboys taking this game. I think it'll be competitive through the third quarter. I just think Cowboys have a better team. So I'd expect them to get the W. Saints fans, you're going into week two, 1-1. I take it. Your division isn't the strongest. You still should be in the driver's seat. Moving on, Browns and Jaguars. So this one's a weird game because I thought the Jaguars were going to be the dark horse for the AFC, and it's only week two. It's just sometimes with those teams you want to see take the next step. Week one is kind of an identifier of, has this team been taking their offseason preparation seriously? And through the third quarter, we believe that. Jaguars were up on the Dolphins, looked really good. And they kind of imploded, gave that game away. Browns, the huge question over the whole offseason. Is Deshaun Watson going to play up to the money they're paying him? And we had an answer within about 10 seconds in that game against the Cowboys. I don't know how much longer the Browns can start him, regardless of what they're paying him. I mean, he has to come out and look decent to quiet the crowd a little bit. And at this point, if he plays decent, how are we going to react? Because are we going to say, well, finally, Deshaun looks a little bit like him? But decent isn't $66 million a year. So it's a shame because that Cleveland defense has studs on every single level. I just don't think they can get it done against the Jags team, which really has a lot of talent on the up. They got Trayvon Walker starting to get hot on the defensive side of the ball, their first round pick a couple years ago. They got a couple young safeties with Andre Cisco and Antonio Johnson. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is still young. They draft Brian Thomas Jr. on offense, the wide receiver out of LSU. Travis Etienne. There's just a lot to like with this Jags team at home. They didn't finish the job last week. I think it's pretty safe to say they get the job done this week against a Browns team that morale might be pretty low right now. And how long can that defense hold up with a low morale? believing if Deshaun Watson's in play does not improve, you wonder, does the defense start to slack a little bit because they know doesn't matter. Why are we playing hard? We're not going to win anyway. Not saying that's the mentality they have. Stuff like that could wear on the team. If Deshaun Watson does not look good another week in a row, this thing is not pretty for the Browns. New cases already came out this week. I don't know where you go. It's a weird situation. We've never really been in it in the NFL. So I definitely believe the Jaguars take this victory. Should be a competitive game for a little bit. I just think the Jaguars have too much talent on both sides of the ball to not take this W. Going in third 1 o'clock game, we got the Raiders at the Ravens. And this is one of the games that I probably won't tune into too much. Raiders, I mean, they have Max Crosby, and Max Crosby's going to get his. But outside of that, Devontae Adams doesn't look like he's going to be a Raider much longer. They have Brock Bowers, but they got nobody to give him the ball. And after those three players, you're left wondering, who the hell else is on this team? It's like being super hungry and getting a kid's meal. 3 bites and you're done with the food. You're like, dude, I'm still hungry. That's how this Ravens team or this Raiders team is. Like, not much depth to it. Ravens, I want to see if Lamar Jackson can save his legs a little bit. He had 16 rushes. I think he probably ran a little bit more. One, his offensive line, there's a lot of pieces that left in the offseason, so they're trying to get a little bit of cohesion. Also, he's playing the Chiefs opening night. They bounced him in the playoffs. So maybe he wants to do a little bit extra. I could see his juices being a little extra flowy to try to get that victory. I think this is an easy Ravens win. At least 2 touchdowns, probably 3. I can't imagine that the Raiders are competitive in this for very long. Ravens are one of the class acts in the AFC. One of the teams that you would expect to be into the divisional round at least. Ravens, you're in sell mode almost. I mean, are we going to talk about a Devontae trade? If they start the season 1-3, I can't see how he'd be there. It wouldn't make any sense to keep him. So, Ravens win this one. Moving on. Chargers and the Panthers. And 2 ironic things with this. The new Chargers, probably boring, but good. New Panthers, boring, but bad. Jim Harbaugh has the identity of the Chargers changing. Smash Mouth football. That's how you win in the NFL. That's how all his teams have won in the NFL. And we shouldn't have expected it any other way. J.K. Dobbins goes for a $130 against the Raiders last week. Good for him. Battled some injuries over the past few years. Great to see a guy get back on a horse like that. Same old Panthers, even though new coach get blown out by the Saints last week, which is quite a task. I just want to see signs of life from Bryce Young if I'm a Panthers fan. That's all I'm looking for this week. Just give me something to look forward to. 9 or under 50% completion percentage last week. 2 interceptions. Like, just, I don't even care about stats at this point with Bryce. Like, just give him some plays, get some confidence back. He was the first overall pick for a reason. It's not like he's some scrub. Went in the 5th round. This dude can play quarterback. How does Dave Canales get him on the right track of gaining confidence back? I don't know. Switch the offense. I don't even know what you do if they're not calling plays that Bryce Young likes or he doesn't feel comfortable with it. It seems so out of sorts there. You're rooting for Bryce. You feel bad. I want to see him gain some confidence back. If I'm a Chargers fan, I just want to see us go out play physical football and get a W. Don't really care the score, don't really care the stats. Just want to see Justin Herbert play clean football, come out of this injury free because this is a easy win. So you don't want to lose any important players to a team that you are much more superior than. Moving on, Bucks and Lions. This is a game that I got highlighted as one of the 1 o'clock games that I'm gonna be switching to a lot. NFC divisional round matchup. Buccaneers at the Detroit Lions. This is super exciting. So the Lions started off their season with the Rams, who they faced in the wild card round, and now the Bucks, who they faced in the divisional round, winning both games. That's a lot of emotion in the first 2 weeks, both in Detroit as well. So I'm sure the fans enjoy that. You get 4 straight home games pretty much. I want to see Baker keep baking. They got Lions Young secondary. They got Terry and Arnold and a Shrakesaw. They brought in Carlton Davis from the Buccaneers. Fun little matchup there. Can they handle Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and McMillan from Washington was drafted by the Bucks? I want to see who's matching up with Mike. I mean, Mike Evans is a specimen. So can they find somebody to slow him down? If not, it could be a long day for the Bucks. I'm caught in between. I think this is gonna be I think this is gonna be a high-scoring matchup between the two teams. Lions offense, probably one of the best in the league. I think the Bucks offense is a little bit underrated. You got Mike Evans, you got Rachaad White. Baker looks like he's playing the best football he's ever played. Very confident right now. And it's week 2. Offenses should start clicking a little bit more this week. I still expect the Lions to take this one, but definitely an exciting game. Looking forward to it. Moving on. Colts and the Packers. This one really sucks that Jordan Love isn't playing, even though he's listed as questionable. We're probably going to see Malik Willis. If Jordan Love plays, I don't know what shape he'll be in. If he'll be playing on one leg and how much risk of re-injury he's going to have. I would expect Malik Willis, who did look decent for Tennessee in the preseason this year, but he just seems like he doesn't have enough reps in his bag to go out there and play comfortable football. At least what we saw with Tennessee. Now he gets with an offensive mind. Matt LaFleur, can he expand on that? Listen, they picked him up for a reason, so there's probably some potential there that they like if they're willing to have him as their backup quarterback. And I'm excited for it. He's kind of playing for his future in the NFL over these next few weeks. He plays good, he's going to be there. If he doesn't, practice squad. So, sticking with the quarterbacks, I want to see a little bit more accuracy from Anthony Richardson. This dude is a freak. He's so fun to watch. He's so dang good at football. You just want to see him do a little bit more of the X's and O's and a little bit less of running around and, just making it up as he goes. Because, man, if this guy can reach his full potential, and I believe Shane Steichen will help him reach that, young coach who probably, I would say, within the next 2 to 3 years could get coach of the year. I think he's got that potential. Richardson is so good. And it kind of goes to show you, it depends on the situation that you're in. Richardson last year was a quarterback that they needed to have sit for a year. He's too raw. He doesn't have enough reps. We heard the same thing with Drake May. Well, Colts came out last year and said, well, we're starting Anthony Richardson week 1. And he looked pretty good. I'm not saying he's not going to have growing pains. You'll take it with a young player that has the potential. You'll take the growing pains. Look at the Bills with Josh Allen. You think that they're upset about the interceptions he threw in week in week 4, season 2, when he was having his MVP season? Probably not. I think Colts are probably on that same trajectory, and you hope a guy can achieve it because he's fun to watch. We're only 5 weeks into his career, and he's already putting up a ton of highlights. Another cool matchup in this game is Josh Jacobs versus Jonathan Taylor. A couple of the better backs in the league. Gotta zoom out. Yeah, I wonder how much, anytime you see at Packers, you think of cold Lambeau games, but we're only in September, even though out here in Montana, it's a little chilly. I would expect the Packers to run a lot. I got Josh Jacobs on my fantasy team. I can't imagine they're going to have Malik Willis dropping back and slinging it all over the yard. And I could see this being kind of a dogfight. I have a tough time thinking that the Packers are going to beat the Colts playing with their second string quarterback. I got the Colts winning this game. This one will be a fun one to watch the highlights for. Definitely, though. Next game, we got the Niners and Vikings. I got this pegged as a sneaky good game. Vikings have a lot of talent on their roster on both sides of the ball, especially offensive, though. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, great offensive line. And it seems to be the resurgence of Sam Darnold. Week 1 looked really good against the Giants. They are not the best. Still, they are NFL players, and the defense for the Giants can be sneaky good. Can Sam Darnold continue his resurgence against a much tougher defense and an all-around better team? They're probably going to be playing from behind, which is a completely different game that you're playing the Giants winning 28-6. You're not pressing. You're not getting tight throughout the game. You're playing a Niners team that just showed they can beat the shit out of anybody. And they're probably going to try to do the same to you. So, will Jordan Mason have a great second game as a starter? I can't imagine the Vikings are going to go into this game plan not selling out to stop the run, because that's how Kyle Shanahan wants to set up his game plan. Doing it is a whole different thing. Christian McCaffrey was listed as out today for week 2, and Kyle Shanahan is saying that he is considering putting him on the injured reserve, which would mean he would lose the next 3 weeks as well. And it makes you really wonder, like, how serious is this calf injury? It is listed as calf/Achilles. And I know they're playing it safe. And obviously, it seems like they've got an adequate backup with Jordan Mason. But Christian McCaffrey, I mean, he's one of the best players in the league. So it hurts to not have him out there. But could this be actually beneficial for this team? So if McCaffrey, say he misses the first 5 weeks of the year, well, in theory, he'd be 5 weeks fresher come playoff time. So could it be a blessing in disguise? Because I think they're going to be just fine without him through the regular season. Get some confidence with that young back behind him. Then you bring him in. So then you got Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason, and the rest of that offense. No reason to think they won't make a deep playoff push if they stay healthy. Another thing with the Niners, I can't figure out who's the most important player on their team. I mean, they have so many studs. Fred Warner, Tre'Davious Ward, Nick Bosa, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, Brock Purdy. It's got to... I mean, you'd like to think it's the quarterback, probably. Part of me thinks it's not any of them, and it's just Kyle Shanahan. I guess we'll see as the year goes on. Niners win. Moving on. Here it is. My favorite game of the week, obviously. Seahawks at the Patriots. Shocker. Everybody got the Patriots as the underdog. I don't understand why they didn't do enough research. This team has more talent than people give it credit for. We're the only team in NFL history to hold the team under 10 points 3 weeks in a row and lose all 3 games last year. Our quarterback play was so bad that it overshadowed the rest of our team. We got some guys. And what we did to the Bengals last week, you can call it the Bengals lackadaisical, sleepwalking through the first 2 weeks of the season like they usually do. No, I think the Patriots were prepared and they came out and they hit him in the mouth, and the Bengals thought it was going to be an easy week, and it's not. And I believe that's how the Patriots are going to play every game this year. Which, if you're a Patriots fan, that's all you can really ask for. Competitive, smash mouth football. You want our team to look physical. If we lose, so be it. We don't have Super Bowl aspirations, but we don't want to look like a bunch of wussies every week. This game is fun. So right here we got Seattle, who's full of athletic freaks with Tyreek Woolen, DK Metcalf, Boye Mafe. These guys are in the 90th percentile in every measurable or test for their position. I think one of the most exciting matchups for this weekend in all of the games is Christian Gonzalez, who is 5 games into his NFL career, and he's faced A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams. Who's the other one? Who's Jamar Chase, and he's been pretty locked down with all of them. And now he faces off against DK Metcalf, who's probably the craziest athletic specimen we've ever seen. Excited for that matchup. Also, the two youngest coaches in the NFL both face off in their second games each. Defensive guys. One played in the NFL, one did not. One's known as a genius, the other more as a player's coach. So, should be a fun game. Should be a fast game. A lot of young talent on these two teams. I can't expect this one to be high scoring. Kenneth Walker ruled out. Big bummer there. Never like when the best players get injured on the team that the Pats are playing. You want to beat teams at full strength, and you don't wish for anybody to get injured. I think the Pats win this game. That's not me being a homer. I think Pats are going to go into this game with some extra energy. They win week 1. They're at home this week against a Seahawks team that is good, but let's not act like they're a lock for the playoffs. So, Pats win. I'm happy. Next game, Jets and the Titans. I think last week showed that you can't buy a team in free agency. You had one team that they pretty much assembled like the Avengers. And then you had another team with the Niners, everything through the draft. I mean, there's almost nobody on that team besides Christian McCaffrey that hasn't been on there for 4 or 5 years since Shanahan took over. I really want to think the Jets win. I think Aaron Rodgers gets better this week and looks a little bit more mobile. And I definitely believe it's in their best interest to feed Breece Hall. I just think the Titans win this game. They looked good against the Bears last week. They did. They looked pretty good until the fourth quarter when Will Levis decided to just give the game to the Bears at home. I still think they carry their feistiness that Mike Vrabel had with them. There's some sneaky talent on that team with Tyjae Spears, with Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley. There's some pretty good pieces on that team that I think if Will Levis can show you some of the reason why you believe he could be a quarterback, which he has at times, he has more often than, or he has more not than often. if that makes any sense. You just want to see Will Levis look better throughout all 4 quarters. But if you're a Jets fan and they lose, that means you're going in. Say the Jets lose, Patriots win. You're going into week 3, Thursday Night Football, Jets 0-2, Patriots 2-0. The storylines alone should make you guys root for this to happen. Be pretty fascinating. Next game, probably one of the more boring games. Giants and the Commanders. As bad as really both teams are, I think this is an easy Commanders win. I mean, Jaden Daniels, game 2, he should only get more comfortable in the system and playing at the pro speed. Giants, they do have a good defensive line with Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, and Brian Burns. All young, all studs. But this Giants team is a ticking time bomb. How long until they bench Daniel Jones? If they bench him and they do bad this year, are we going to see Bill Belichick make a return to the Meadowlands? That would be crazy. Really, the biggest thing to watch in this game, Jaden Daniels. Let's see how he does in game 2. Moving on. Rams at the Cardinals. Like I said, Cardinals are a feisty team. Rams are very banged up. Kyler still looks like he's finding his legs a little bit. Looked decent last week. Still one of the toughest runners to get down in the NFL. They barely use Marvin Harrison Jr. Will that be more in the game plan? He's still getting his sea legs in the NFL. I think the Rams just a little bit banged up coming off a super physical Sunday night football game. Emotional as well. Going to Arizona. I see the Cardinals taking this thing. I think this will be one of your better games. Afternoon NFC West games. They always seem to have something funky happen. You're just watching the 4:15 game, waiting for Sunday Night Football. You look down at the ticker at the bottom of the screen. You're like, wait, 3 minutes left, 28-24. They got the ball. I'm going to check that out. Always feels like there's a few of those per year. I could see it being this week. Next game, probably the one with the biggest implications of the week. Bengals at the Chiefs. I don't think there's a person on the planet picking the Bengals to win this game after last week. And the Chiefs look good. There's no reason you could give me that the Chiefs wouldn't win this game. Quarterback, they're better. Running back, they're better. Receivers, that's the closest one. If T. Higgins plays, you could give the receivers a nod on the Bengals. Tight end, Chiefs. Offensive line, Chiefs. Defensive line, Chiefs. Linebackers, Chiefs. Corners and safeties, Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs just check off every single category. And in the biggest one, coach, Chiefs. This is a must-win for Cincy, though. You can't start 0-2. I mean, you already got a gift that the Ravens lost to the Chiefs the week before. Because if not, you'd be 4 games back. They got to win this game. I don't see how they get it done. Then you see Cam Taylor-Britt, their young cornerback, talking smack about Worthy, saying he's not scared of him. What, he can run in a straight line fast? I might pick up Worthy in my fantasy league, and if he's available, I would too. I can see them dialing up some long plays with Worthy. And if you're the Bengals, one last piece before we move on to the next game, get Chase the damn ball. Stretch the field. He's a $30 million wide receiver a year for a reason. Hit him when he's running deep. He's incredibly talented on those type of plays. Chiefs win. Bengals 0-2. Steelers at the Broncos. I feel bad for Bo Nix. Goes up against Seattle. In Seattle against Mike McDonald. super young, talented defense that just needed the right scheme in a tough place to play, now has to come home and play the Pittsburgh Steelers, who made Kirk Cousins look like a rookie. I think the Broncos are going to win this game. I think it's going to be low scoring, mainly off of the fact that I don't trust Justin Fields or Russell Wilson to stack up any points. I think Bo could be a fast learner. Sean Payton is going to have a game plan. If he can just execute it good enough, their defense should be able to hold. I mean, George Pickens isn't getting anything working on Patrick Surtain. I mean, Surtain's the best corner in the league. Pickens is good. So then outside of that, where do they go with the ball if you're the Steelers? Yeah. Outside of that, TJ Watt, is he the best defensive player? Hard to argue between him, Myles Garrett, and Micah Parsons. But when you watch TJ Watt, he's just, I don't know what it is with TJ and JJ. They're both so crazy, gifted, and strong and athletic freaks. Pike. Gonna have to listen to my dog bark a little bit here. Guarding the house. TJ Watt definitely looks like the best defensive player, though. So if the Steelers do win, it's because he makes multiple plays, which I could see happening. Bo Nix better be ready to dish out that ball. He was the quickest at getting the ball out and underneath, the most accurate. He's going to need to exercise that in this game. All right, 2 more games. Sunday Night Football, Bears and Texans. Young QB showdown, C.J. Stroud and Caleb Williams. Texans, pick your poison. You've got Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Joe Mixon, Dalton Schultz. Pick your poison. Bears, pick your poison as well. You've got DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, and Cole Kmet. I mean, if the Bears can get a little bit of confidence in Caleb after last week's tough showing, to just air it out, forget it. I'm coming out here. I was the first overall pick. I'm going to sling this rock around the yard. I've got the weapons. This game could have the potential to be one of the most fun Sunday night games we have all year. We've got future of the league, C.J. Stroud. Future of the league, Caleb Williams. Young, talented teams. It's not like the Bears are your typical number 1 overall team picking in the draft. There's a lot of talent on that team. Should be fun. Texans win. Super excited for this game, though. Love when we have good Sunday night games. It's the best. Finally, Monday Night Football, Falcons at the Eagles. And I've got the Eagles I got the Falcons red flagged. They seem like they don't know what they're doing. Seems like they forgot that TJ Watt plays football last week, just letting him destroy the game. They bring in a $200 million quarterback. They can only put up 10 points. They didn't play Michael Penix during the preseason because they had seen enough. Well, you might see him after this game if Kirk doesn't play good enough. You don't want to jump to conclusions, but what's the point of drafting a young rookie who's ready to play if you don't plan on playing him? Moving on to the Eagles. Eagles could be the best offense in the NFL. I mean, we just talked about Texans and Bears. Pick your poison. Eagles, it's like times 10. You've got Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson, 2 of the best tackles in the league. This team is loaded. Outside of that, we've got pretty good secondary talent on both sides. Atlanta's got A.J. Terrell, Justin Simmons, and Jesse Bates. The Eagles, a couple young guys in Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. Veteran Darius Slay. Should be some pretty good secondary play out of these 2 teams. Outside of that, that's the whole wrap for Sunday and Monday. Looking forward to another exciting week of football. Week 2 already here. We're flying through it. We'll get on after, talk about the afternoon and morning games. They start at 11 o'clock here. Super nice. You just wake up, roll out of bed, get your cup of coffee, walk the dogs, throw on the pregame, and boom, kickoff happens. So comment down below what you guys think is going to go on. Hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. Talk to you soon. Peace out.